Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So today's video we are going to be taking a look at Ronin again. Now I have made kind of like a full Ronin review initially when he came out. However, after finishing variant 3, I found myself with a skill rank 3 to 4 gem, and I took a look at my skill champions, and Ronin seemed like pretty much the obvious choice from the ones that I had. So he's going straight up to rank 4. Now my Ronin is not duped, however he doesn't really need that dupe ability regardless. And yeah, so we're quickly taking him up to rank 4, and then we're going to check him out in random Act 5 map. I think it's going to be Act 543, where Hela is going to be the boss. We're going to go and do an entire lane of that quest and see how well he can deal with opponents. Now, my opinion of Ronin has not changed since I made the video. I don't think he's the greatest champion in the world. I think the best piece of utility he has is the ability to shrug off debuffs. And that also makes him relatively suitable for Suicide Masteries, and especially in this case, because I'm running Nick Fury, Gold Pool, Captain Marvel, Cosmic, and Quake Synergy. Quake Synergy with Nick Fury here is extremely beneficial because we are going to be playing super aggressive, and if we do happen to make a slip up trying to dash back in and out, that synergy should be able to save us relatively well. And as we saw here, we got to our level 2 and the fight is over. So that's 29 hits. It's not the greatest damage output, but it is sure as hell fun to use Ronin. Do I think he's gonna be some sort of staple in my questing teams? No, but overall the questing team that he fits in extremely well is really well-rounded and strong, because Nick Fury, Quake, Captain Marvel movie are all fantastic champions to use in many situations in different quests. And Ronin just works extremely well with all three of them. And obviously then we have Gold Pool in for the heal. But as we can see here, once again we're 15 hits in, she's at 60%, and that is about to change, because as soon as we get to that level 3, we go into high damage stance. We have that immense crit buff on us, we can drop a level 2 and the fight is going to be over without even needing to rely on that bleed damage we would have gotten. And that Angela was in fact stun immune, but because of how often we kind of dash back intercept, we hardly even noticed that she had any immunity zone. And that's why I kind of chose to leave this path and do this path in the first place, because there are a lot of different kind of matchups for us to see how well or poorly Ronin will do. So now we have to deal with Electro. Now against Electro, Ronin also has few kind of smaller tricks that can help him, because he has one of his stances that reduces opponent's defensive ability accuracy, as well as level 1 has Disorient debuff that reduces it further for another 40%. So in theory we should be able to walk through this Electro with relatively low health loss compared to the most champions. As we can see, there's a Disorient buff. Quite often we're striking him and not taking any damage back, and that worked out fairly well for us. We still lost some health, but it was less than you would with the vast majority of the champions. Now, another relatively easy fight for Ronin is going to be this Dr. Voodoo, obviously, because Voodoo isn't really the toughest champion to fight against. Let's just see how quickly we can change our stances, remove that poison, get some bleeds going. We're already at 3 cruelties. We got 4. Dr. Voodoo is healing up initially, but we're still kind of mitigating that heal as well with our bleeds and despair mastery, so that is helping us. Now we have crit buff, we're in our attack stance, and we can completely pound away at this Voodoo. We can see that we are dealing good amount of damage, critting fairly well, and that level 2 just finishes it off. And Ronin's playstyle in kind of small to moderate doses is actually extremely fun. Now, if you have to constantly keep playing him, it can become tiresome, mainly because you have to constantly keep checking out which stance you're in, how many cruelties you're on, and so on and so forth, what power level is opponent, and it can get tiresome. However, when you do kind of shorter fights and you don't use him for every single fight, it is in fact extremely fun, because all the dashing back in and forth, you just feel kind of like you're so aggressive, you want to kind of push your luck, you want to see what happens when you dash in. And especially when you have the Quake synergy, as we saw here, the Quake synergy has already saved me 2 times in this fight, and it's barely started, because clearly I wasn't really trying to be the most careful player in this fight. However, now we are about to get to 7 cruelties, drop our level 2, and that should be pretty much fight over here. We still have 1 evade charge ready in case we do make a slip up. There are some nice crits there. That was definitely a solid level 2, and the Rhino is nearly down. A couple of more hits to finish it off, and yep, he drops dead. So all the fights pretty much are finished within a single level 2 attack, which isn't bad at all. Now we're gonna have Captain America Infinity War. This should be a fairly easy fight, but I want to see how he does against Nebula, because Nebula is obviously bleed immune, so we will lose a large part of our damage output, and I want to see how much that will extend the fight length for us. But first we need to deal with this Cap. I think I'm gonna make a small slip up in this fight as well. Yep, so we immediately burned off 2 of our away charges. We're left with 1, but that's not a big deal. We just need to build up some cruelties by changing our stances, and then we can drop our level 2, and the fight should be over just like the rest of them, especially because we do have a class advantage in this fight. Plus we are getting additional heal from the fatigue debuff when we don't shrug it off by accident. But yeah, so we're at level 2, just bait out his level 1, finish our combo, drop our level 2, and the fight is over. So once again, we get to our level 2, and that seals off the fight. But now we need to get to that Nebula and see how we do there. Shouldn't be too bad, I suspect, because we have quite a bit of cruelties, quite a bit of precision, so we should still be critting fairly well throughout this fight. But let's just see what happens. So start of the fight is as normal. Obviously we want to build up our cruelty stacks by changing our stances as quickly as possible, because that helps us hit harder. We also get that precision buff, and that we will start critting a lot more. And let's see where we're at damage wise once that happens. So here we are basically critting on almost every hit. We can see that with that huge precision buff, we are critting much more often than not. Now that brute force did get to me for a second, but that's not the biggest deal. And yeah, as you can see, it's crit after crit after crit. 26 hits in, she's almost nearly down as well, and we just basically need to drop in a level 2, and the fight is going to be over. So even losing out on all that bleed damage, 1 level 2 is still enough to finish off an opponent in Act 5, Chapter 4, so that's not bad at all. Now we just need to move on forward, teleport to the next kind of section of this path, and the first opponent is Mystic. I think it's going to be Hood, so Hood should be fairly good prey for us. There shouldn't be anything too difficult in this fight. Ronin should slice through it like butter, basically. So once again, we're just trying to build up our cruelties as quickly as possible. So we do 2-hit combo, dash back, do 3-hit combo. Once again, 2-hit combo, dash back, 3-hit combo. Now we're at 4 cruelties already. So you can see that by the time we pushed him to level 1, we were already in 4 cruelty stacks. So it is fairly easy to build them up, especially when you dare to be a bit adventurous and randomly start dashing in and out without actually waiting and watching what opponent's going to do. Because that Quake synergy would save me regardless. And once again, 30 hits, the fight is over with our first level 2 attack. So that's fairly easy way to deal with some random max 5 opponents. And now next fight is going to be fairly interesting. And it's going to be interesting because it turns out to be Cable, and as we all know, Cable doesn't really like to be bled too much. Now, on the bright side for me, that degen he placed on us whenever we start bleeding him is in fact an active debuff, which we are able to shrug off. Now, ideally, what I should have done is I should have kept to my first 2 stances, switch in between them as often as possible, just to get rid of the degen debuff and don't take a lot of degen damage. However, I chose to be aggressive, kind of go for maximum damage and trying to finish him off as quickly as I can. So I'm about to drop my level 2 here, hopefully that kills him. And it didn't, because we didn't crit. But we're still alright. We're at 43%, Cable gun down. Now, I could have done this fight a lot safer, lost a lot less health than I did, but it is what it is. I made my decision, I got to move on, and now I think I only have boss fight left. And the boss of this quest is Hela, and she goes randomly unstoppable, basically. Well, not randomly, but she does go unstoppable a lot, basically. Every time she throws a level 1 or level 2 attack and whatnot, and all of them are unblockable. So this should be a fairly fun matchup. Also a good option to kind of demonstrate that Ronin, in fact, has a really good parry duration in his perfect block stance, because parry does interact with your chance to perfect block, and in case of Ronin it does extend that stun by quite a bit, so we are in fact able to get in quite a few hits if we happen to parry Hela in that particular stance. But yeah, as we can see here, we are dealing with her 15 hits in, she's at 73%, we are at 6 cruelties. We do need to play a bit more careful than we normally would. However, it's not too major of an issue, so we have 7 cruelties. We just need to bait out this level 1. Now we need to wait out for Unstoppable to expire and then drop a big level 2 and see how much damage that deals to her. So there we go, 7k, 4k, 7k, 7k. So that was like a nice 5k level 2. Can't complain at all whatsoever, and she's bleeding down to death basically. So I just need to wait a bit, let for her Indestructible to expire, and she's gonna go down. Anyways guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the buttons, and I'm gonna catch you guys soon. Laters.